All right. First of all, is there any questions on the homework? I have any trouble with it?
I didn't.
Rick? Okay,
She will.
okay.
I couldn't get it to loop through.
You couldn't get it to loop. Okay.
I had that trouble too. I got it fixed, but getting that was
Yeah.
part of the problem.
You have a loop problem?
I'm just still a little confused between cast and convert.
I'll answer that one real quick. They do both of them do the same. Cast is an ANSI standard. In other words, that is in every implementation of a DBMS language that's ANSI compliant. It's in Oracle, it's in MySQL, it's in Convert is a Transact SQL specific.
Okay.
And it's basically cast on steroids. Okay. Because what it does, it has extra features in there where you can get the money formatting and other types of formatting and have another argument there that's optional. And I think your book has a table in there.
Okay.
With some numbers in there, and if it's money, it'll come out with dollar signs, commas, and stuff like that. So usually, if you're in Transact SQL, you just go ahead and use Convert because it's you've got
That's the way it's set up.
yeah, and it always has the nicer features.
Okay.
I mean, some of the constructs may, like the procedural, may require Convert. I'm not sure of this one.
And I think my old job, I always remember seeing convert. Then, in other things, I saw cast. So I think that's why I'm confused. I'm seeing both.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll just go over a solution, not the solution, then we'll see, and then we'll see where, then you can ask we'll review your question again as I go down through this. Okay. Let me see where, that's mine. Okay. So, I'm just going to get that out, so I got one page. Okay. So our the first thing we would do to create a table and hold the employees. Okay, so I'm going to drop that, and now I did something different here because I believe I asked you to be sure you put an identity column in, didn't I? Okay. Well, I'm going to show you a better way to do that, or a different way to do it. It is a better way because you just don't have this nice choice. So I had already done that to here, so I didn't do that. So, but we're going to see what I'm going to do, and it kind of leads into the lecture tonight. So obviously I don't have that identity column in there, so I can't really enumerate on this thing. But I'm gonna kind of introduce my, it has anything to do with the looping, it's just so that you can see the context there. Otherwise, you're really going to be confused. So that's all right. We got that, and we'll go ahead and insert our records. Okay. Yeah, and they're all out of sync. Okay. There's nothing uniform about those things. So I'll go on down here. And then we'll write a procedural script, update all the records in the table, use variables and control constructs, use the withholding, okay, so forth and so forth. Okay. And I'm going to do this in more detail. I'm going to create another little table, but I'm going to do something we're going to look at tonight. This is a derived table. And this, you'll note it's a table variable. So I'm going to do a declare, and I got the little at sign there, and I've got a table after that. So what I do when I have tables that I need to enumerate on, usually what you need to do is enumerate on the input. So what I'll do is I'll create a new table on the fly in the program, in the batch, okay, that will hold my actual identifier, my rate, and my hours, because that's the information I need. I'm going to be computing the other stuff, and I'm going to be updating that in the actual table.
You're still enumerating, you're just hiding.
Well, no, I'm not hiding anything. I needed to have a way, I need to have a little table I can enumerate
You're
on.
hiding it from the main table.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
using it as a very
Yeah, I'm using this as.
behind the scenes.
Well, it's not actually behind the scenes. I mean, it's separate from that table.
Yes.
That's not even connected. I'm gonna read the records from the table and populate this one, but I've got that little enumerated deal. Okay. So take that at face value, and then we're gonna discuss that some more. Okay? So I did that. Make sure I didn't forget it. Let's see, what did I do? I got confused when I got. What did I do? Record processing. Okay, yeah, I did. I did that on now. I thought, well, maybe I didn't. Yeah, all right. No, I'm good. All right. So we're going to do that. And then it's just a variable. Okay? Except it's a variable that's going to hold a result set. The result set is going to be, actually not a new table, it's going to just simply be a table, and I'm going to populate it with the records from the original table. So I'm going to go ahead and close that up. And here I'm going to insert into this variable from that old table, the employee table. And all I'm going to do is do select the ID, rate, and hours from employee. And if I look at it here, okay, that populates those three fields. And of course, in terms of the identity, I don't have to do anything because every time I insert, okay, it automatically goes and retrieves the next available number. Okay, and it's going to do that in an enumerated fashion, starting with 1 and incremented by 1. So I'll do that. And then I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll rerun this thing. And we'll just take that out, so I did that. Select, okay. I didn't have to anyway. Right now, and then we'll go ahead and declare some working variables. All of the rates that we're going to need to do, all the variables we're going to need. The EID, the rate, the hours, the gross pay, the net, the row, number of rows, and withholding. Okay. And then the next thing, we have to count the number of rows that we have in this table. Okay, so the number of rows I have in this table variable is going to be the same number of rows I have in the original table. So I just simply did all the rows, except I just selected out the input columns, not the output columns. Okay? And then I just did this because I keep rerunning it. So update set the gross net to 0. And then now here we start with our loop. So we'll go through the loop thing. Now the key thing with a loop is I have to have a control variable. And I've got this variable row, okay, I'm calling it row. And of course it's going to take on the value of that enumerated column. Okay, it's going to compare against that enumerated control variable set to 1, while that control variable is less than and equal to the number of rows. Okay. So I want this to go through the loop that number of times, in other words, rows times. So here's that. All the control phrase, I'm going to call it that, okay, while, okay, and the control variable less than equal to that final control value. Okay. Then we'll have a begin end block. Okay. Begin, end, okay. And we'll go all the way down. It's pretty long here. It's pretty long stuff. There's the end. Okay. So you want to have that in the begin end block. And so the first thing you're going to do is in this so the first thing you're going to do is fetch the records from this table variable, or in your case, what you might have done, of course, would have been just from your table. Okay, and I'll populate each of my variables that I'm working with. And row here is that column name. So if we go back, okay, that's the enumerated value. So we'll go back and look up here and make sure that's the column. I call it row. Yeah, that thing is blue. It's amazing I pull it off. So that, if it's blue, that means it's a reserved word, but I'm not sure how I'm getting away with this. Normally I probably should put the brackets around it, and then that's it as is. But apparently I might be using it in the right context here, and you get all upset with it.
This editor isn't always accurate, I've noticed. I've had red squiggly lines and it's went ahead and compiled anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure about it. This usually when it's blue like that, it's an indicator that it's a reserved word somewhere. Where am I going? All right. So the first thing you want to do is to select into your variables for that particular record. Okay. Okay. You okay with that? Okay. All right. And then during the development here, I print stuff out on the fly just so I see if I'm reading that thing right. And then the next thing you want to do is you want to compute. So you do your computation next. And you're going to compute overtime on this one, so it's going to be in the if else. So we got that part. You okay with that part?
You are relying on order of precedence in the calculation. It always makes me nervous. I like to specify on there.
The order of precedence.
40 plus 1.5 times hours.
Oh, yeah, well, that's pretty reasonable. I mean, it's going to work.
Mhm.
Where I have to, here I don't, I've got to set the precedence on that one. Okay. Okay. So we're all good with that. And then now we're starting doing now we're going to do compute the net pay. And that's just using the plumbing. You've got to set the net. One minus the withholding rate, okay, times the gross. So that'd be your net pay. And then I was printing these things out here. Good evening. And print those out just for, to check it out. It's not part of our final result, but it was what we would do to. Usually I'll comment that out after I've got this thing to run now. So I just didn't do that. Okay. Good so far. Okay. All right, next thing, this is probably where you may start to have some problems. Now I'm going to update. Now this is a nice thing about Transact SQL because now this is a DML statement. So I can mix DML query statements and DDL statements with procedural stuff. So with the other languages, I can't do that. So it is pretty powerful in that respect. So here, we're just going to go ahead and update our record. We already know what our EID is, and we've got the current one captured in there. So we'll go ahead and update the employee table. This is the actual database table now. And set the gross to what we computed, set the net to what we computed. Okay. And then an important component. Got to update. You do that. Okay.
The end?
Okay. So you can you want to print that out after class? We can look at it.
Yeah, I already printed it.
Okay.
Did you get the end in there?
She would have gotten a compile error on that. So she got past compile and she's got a logic error, I see. Okay.
It leaves null values in there, so.
Pardon?
It'll leave null values, so it's not updated somewhere.
Okay, I'll just look and see what she did. Okay. But again, this wasn't quite the solution that I asked you to do. That I cheated and put in that table.
Are you gonna post this?
I will do that.
I kinda like the table.
Oh yeah, you're gonna
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
in fact, that's the only way you're gonna. It's the only thing that's gonna make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, I didn't get a chance to get into this the last time. I didn't want to. Up here, that's just gonna be too much
But now you
one
got the
evening.
full.
Okay. And so I had to kind of rig it and say, make sure that you're identifying
Yeah.
row and there is an identity. But this is the way we enumerate a table, what I call enumerating a table. And that little table is variable, it's only good for the back. After we go past this next go down here, we're done. Okay, we're gone. So that would be it's a good use of it. And of course, next week we'll look at another solution, that's called cursor. But I still think this is.
I'm just, the table for me, the extra table.
That table variable?
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. We're gonna talk about it tonight.
Because if we didn't do that.
No, I wasn't
that's
expecting
okay.
you to do that, and I was surprised when I looked at my solution this afternoon. I thought, oh my gosh, where's my other solution? I couldn't find it. So this is the solution I had. So, but that's going to be the normal way you're going to do it. And we're going to talk about that tonight. As I said, I didn't want to. I may have in another class, but okay, we're going to do it all. Back off. Boy, that was fast.
It was very helpful going to the tutoring on Tuesday with that. I'm not sure if I would have gotten it all done on my own. I was trying to find out how to do the index because, you know, in Access you can create and automatically.
Oh yeah, they got the auto. Well, yeah, you got the. Well,
But I couldn't figure out how to do that in SQL. I looked up on the web and looked in the book.
We did that before, I think. the identity column.
Yes.
Yeah, the auto number, basically it's an identity column. They're just sugared it up for you. There's no difference, because behind the scene, and all of your stuff on Access, you can look at the code in SQL, open the SQL view, and you can see exactly what's in there. So, yeah, Access makes things look so easy. It's all sugared up. Okay. Any other questions on this? Then I'll post it out there. Okay. And then we'll close that down. We're going to look at two things tonight. Then have another problem. And we're also got to do course evaluation. Glad to see some more people. Very good course evaluation. Got about half. Pardon? Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I shouldn't have, I think I've learned my lesson. I'm going to cancel classes on Halloween night.
I expected some costumes, at least one.
Huh?
I expected some costumes.
I wore orange, that's the best I could do.
I'm dressed up as a college student, starving college student.
Darn. Okay, I'll put it up here today to make sure that course eval, okay, so I don't forget it. I have a tendency to do that. Get wrapped around the problem and stuff. Okay, so we're going to look at case expressions, and this is a nice feature. And then we're going to also we'll look at the table variable, okay? And that's a new feature which came in with 2005. So we didn't used to have that. That is really nice, and that's one of my favorites. Okay, case expression. So, what does it do? I got simple case. No, it's an expression, not a statement. Now, when I mean something is an expression, and this is the power of an expression. A statement, what did you say? A statement yields a side effect. In the case of if else, your statement in there did something, it printed something out, or it may have signed something, or it did a computation. Okay. An expression yields a result. That result is always sitting in an accumulator, and it can be available to be used in another expression. So expressions can be used in statements and or other expressions. And that's the power of it. So in the context of our case expressions, they're going to replace if else type construct, okay, which is a statement with a simple expression that yields a result. Okay. And so it can be used in the procedural statements, procedural expressions, or it can be used in declarative statements, like when you're in a select statement. Okay. So, and we'll look at some examples. So we have two types. We have a simple case, and then we have what's referred to as a search case. So we'll look at the simple case first. And what it does for us, it gives us multi-way selection. In other words, We had if, that was one-way selection. If we had if else, that was two-way selection. If we wanted to have three-way selection, we'd say if else, okay, we could do that. Instead, then that gets kind of, it gets kind of cumbersome, very cumbersome. Rather than that, we'll use the case statement. And the simple case statement here is for equality comparison. I'm always doing equality comparisons. For example, I get myself set up. I'm going to compute the tax depending on the state you're living in. Okay, and I got it. So I'm going to have a rate. I'm going to compute the tax, the amount we're going to compute it on, and then we have to have something to indicate the state. So what we have here is that we got a list of states with different tax rates, and we need to select the right tax rate and then do the computation and yield the result. Okay. So this is my little setup. So our computation is our case expression. No, it is an expression because here I'm doing the set, at rate, assignment, and this produces a result, the value. And it's going to have that value, that value, that value, or that value. It's a multi-way selection. Okay, the syntax for it is the keyword case, okay, and it has to have an end to it. And then it has at least one clause in there, known as a when-then clause. When? The value for one of the state or one of our selectors. If that is true, in other words, if the value in state matches the value in, say, Virginia, then we'll assign the rate of 0.06. Okay, that's in the accumulator, which then gets assigned to rate. Okay. And the way the yes. Okay. Okay. An accumulator is simply a region in space that's going to hold the current value in an expression. That could also be, well, the word temporary table is not right. We'll have an intermediate tables. In other words, in our query expression, it's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you say temporary table, you got to be careful. That's not out there. That's a terminology used for being on the temp database. So when you say temporary table, we usually associate that what you've done, and that's a result of a select into statement. When I do a select into, okay, and then query, and it produces a table on a shared system, it'll put it out there in the temp database. On your desktop, it's going to put them in, wherever you're at. But it's permanent, sort of permanent. Okay. They call it temporary because it doesn't produce a log entry. And that's why DBs don't like it. They want to know exactly where everything is going and what's going on. So you may not have any privileges to create a temporary table, but you've got privileges to do table verification. And you got privileges to create subqueries and name them the table. So that's our other derived table. And of course the common table expression also. The table variable has got a lot more, we'll get to it, it has a lot more flexibility. But it is still temporary. You quote temporary in the sense that it has a short life. Your true temporary tables, have a long life until you delete it. That's because it's put into it's actually saved on disk. All right. Again, the way this this works is he goes down and looks to see if there's a match. That's the way I like to think of it. That's equality comparison. And if it doesn't find a match, then the default is it's 4%. You could do this with if else, if else, if else, and else. That was the other option. But this is a lot nicer. Because if you're doing it with an if else, then you're going to have these assignment statements in each one of these clauses. So this is a lot cleaner.
It's more efficient because the statement stops processing when it finds a match.
Yeah, exactly.
And
It'll do that.
If else,
It'll do that on
goes
if else too, but it has less.
Doesn't F else have to check each condition though? Because-
No, as soon as you find a match that you have, you drop out. The thing it just has more steps in there. Now to really illustrate this, the next question will say, well, if this case statement produces a simple result and puts it in an accumulator, why did I even need to use a rate? Could I have not put it in this expression? The answer is yes, I could. Do that. Now you see the power of it. Because what this is really saying is, the statement that I made over there is, now I've got this case statement. It's just simply an operand. In here it says, take the amount and multiply that times the result of the outcome of that case statement. Okay. Is that clear for everyone? If not, now's the time to, because it's probably going to look a little strange to you. Doesn't look too strange for those of you who've been in regular programming languages, because it's common stuff for programming. You have to think about what this is doing. It produces a result, and it'll be in the accumulator. And there's only going to be one of 4 outcomes. It could be that, or that. Okay. Everybody good on that? Okay. If you're not, now's the time. You got plenty of time. I skipped the statement here, just I'm interested with what's in the power. I wanted to emphasize this is an expression, I wrote it out here, but it returns a result to the accumulator and can be used as an operand in the enclosing expression. And that's exactly what we've done here. We like that next statement. It's in an enclosing statement or an expression because I got another expression there, but I'm going to multiply it times amount. So when this completes, it'll be in the accumulator. It's available as an operand for amount times whatever's in the accumulator. Works just like the calculator. No magic here. Okay. Any questions on it? Yes.
Just to be nitpicky.
That's right.
If the rate is what's going in that state, why did we not call that rate?
Because state is it's not. It's not going in there, Rick. It's going in the accumulator. This right here has to be associated with the value of state. Now, if you go back to my original, go back here.
Yeah, maybe that's one.
Okay. Rate is going to be a numeric. Where's it at, rate? Let's do it this way. Let's suppose I did it. I do a couple of, just do it with an if else, and then I think you'll see this now. Let's go back. I'll start it. I want to write all that if else out. Once you do a case, you'll never write another if else.
Mm-hmm.
You're all leave. Okay. Okay, so it's if, okay, at state, what? Equal, VA, Virginia. Okay. Then, at rate, this is even over here. Set, at rate, assignment operator, 0.06. Else, if at state, what's the next one? Main. Is that right? Main.
Yes, Maine, ME.
Okay. And we don't need parentheses here, do we? Sorry, I went into the C mode. These are two different languages. Let's say I'm losing.
Should learn Spanish.
I may be losing it for just trying to teach three different languages. That might be true.
You should learn Spanish so then you could have 6 languages. Fine.
0.05, and you got the idea. Okay. Now do you see what?
Well, but here I see there's rate and state.
Yeah, it's rate and state there, but what I'm saying is, this state right here is the thing that produces the result. Why not just replace it right there? And we can. That's what we're doing. If we go to the next one, there's my statement. When we do that. Unless we're going to use rate again, okay, we do this. If we need to use the value of rate down here somewhere, then we go back and use the other one.
But still in here,
Yeah.
in state, it's either gonna be 6, 5, 8, or
That's
4.
right. Well, state is gonna, I'd take it, what's in the value of what's in the location for state is gonna be VA, ME, or something else.
The reason at state is up there is to tell the state, look at the value state, and then determine the rate.
You're used to do it if state is equal to Virginia. Here it says, we look at state, okay, you're saving all of these names here, and you have to look and say, when state is Virginia, then. If that's true, good, and you're out. If not, it goes to the next one. It's like the switch state, what you did, C-sharp.
I think I was just seeing that,
Yeah, it probably maybe looks a little strange, but it,
was a lot in one, but then you still are
Yeah.
just doing the
Yeah.
amount times 6 or the
Yeah.
amount times 5.
Yeah.
Right. That's ultimately.
yeah, one of those outcomes.
Yeah.
And what that outcome is gonna be based on, the value that's in states. It's gonna match one of these. If it doesn't match anything, then it's gonna be 4. All right. Everybody good on that one? All right, well, we don't always have equality comparison, so this is the search. And this one might be a little more palatable for you. It's going to be multi-way selection. Except here, we're going to have possibly mixed equality comparison and inequality comparison. And of course, it's an alternative to the if-else if. And so now, this one might make you feel better, Rick. And you could do it this way. You could also just use equality in there. In this case, we have to repeat the variable. We have to repeat the variable each time, because these kinds of expressions here require binary operating. Now you might think, well, why can't it figure out, why can't I have maybe a statement like this, like case, at score, okay, and then we have the when, okay, and then we'll use inequality comparison 70, it could have been equality comparison 70 or something like that. Okay, that's just because the parser is not going to be able to work. They couldn't. I'm sure if they could figure out a good way to get the context right, they could do that, but they don't. So it's easier just to, repeat it. So when you got inequality comparison, still not too bad. Okay, still not too bad. The only downside is I gotta do all of those.
I don't think they should have used the equal sign in there.
This here.
Yep.
It's
I'd be upset if I made a 90 and got a B.
less than or equal to 90.
So when it's less than a 90, I should get a B. If it's a 90, I should make an A.
I don't think so. I think you ought to be up above that.
In fact.
Huh?
In fact, 92.
Yeah, right, even higher. We're too easy on it. Okay.
Oh, man.
Okay. All right. And then, of course, yeah. And you can do this in a declarative statement, and treat that this becomes now a column in your result set. Okay, for each row. Now this will produce a value for each row, and of course we gotta name it because this is just like a function. I can use my case statements in my select clause. And that's because it's an expression. You might have already done that in case statements before. There you go. Pardon? Okay. You didn't do the math right? Okay, well, we'll look at it. Okay. All right. So this is really a powerful construct. Any questions? Okay. Again, the search works the same way. I keep emphasizing this notion. Return the result to the accumulator, and then that's available to operate in closing expression. In this case, it's just simply a column. Okay, we're done with that. Any questions on case? So you probably never use an if else. The case is even so much nicer. And it's giving you a little more flexibility. Okay, now let's take a look at derived tables. Okay, now we've been doing derived tables. I'm just going to list what we've done, and then if we need to review them, we can. If not, we're going to go ahead with that table variable, which I've already introduced by the back door, so to speak. Okay, we can derive our tables on the fly in our scripts for further query analysis and reporting. That's usually what we do it. And most of you are going to have that privilege. What you're not going to have the privilege of maybe is creating your own tables, and you may not have the privilege of using that select into, which creates a temporary table in the temp database. But this is the way we can create temporary or derived tables. That's why I call it derived tables. One, of course, is the subquery. That's in memory. It has a limited use because it can only be used in the outer query. So with that, and then you're done. The select into clause, okay, that's where we select into, give it a new name. We have basically a query that gets it from another table, and we do get database storage, and it goes into the temp database on a shared system. Like your desktop goes into wherever you are. And then a couple of weeks ago, we did the common table expression. Again, that was good. We could create a table, and then we could use that table to create another table. We could use that table to create another table. And finally, we had that SQL statement at the end where we had to use we didn't have to, but that's the only place we could use those. And then after that, it's gone away. So that's very limited life, very much like the subquery, except this was pretty flexible. Because this one here is persistent, okay, if you get the chance to do it. And now we're going to look at a new feature, a table variable. It's in memory. It has a longer life, and that's the life of one batch. So if you got a great big long batch that runs for 3 hours, then its life is 3 hours. Let's look at it in a more formal context here. Okay, the table variable. Okay. It's just like creating a variable. We use the declare keyword. We got to use the at in a table name. And in this case, our type is table. And now it's going to hold a record set, compound type, based on the selection of the columns and the types that we're going to use in there. And it's just like creating a table. You can almost use the same features. You can use column attributes. You can use table constraints in there. Usually we don't do that because that's that's not something we want to do because it's going to have a pretty short life and it doesn't last forever. So generally we use it in the context just like I had done a little bit earlier. It's just a way of creating my little input table that could be enumerated so that I could do row by row processing. It uses the same syntax as creating a table. Okay. An example would be I'm going to create a table variable called sales data. And I'm going to name 3 columns. Usually I'm going to put the same name that I'm going to get this from, the same names that I'm going to be getting it from the table I'm getting these names from. So we got the employee table or something like that. Yeah, employee table. Got sales data in there, our salesman table. It's got our name of our salesman, his quota, and his sales. That's all we were interested in. And we're going to do something. Okay. So we're going to create a little temporary variable, temporary table, so we can process it. And we do that. Now, you can't use the select into. You got to use insert statement. So you insert into that table variable, and then display a select statement. And that select statement could be any complex select statement you want. I could be putting groups of stuff in there.
Why can we not use the select into?
For table. Can't populate a table variable with a select into. remember what we do, when we do a select into statement, what you're really doing is creating another permanent table, and you're getting that from, that data from another existing table. So here we have insert. So, whatever the record said is the result of this would be all the records with just those 3 columns, and in each one of those would get inserted. And as you saw earlier, what I did is if I had an identity column in my definition, then it would insert an identity value. And then after you have it, you can do anything you want to with it, just like you were with a regular table. I can do queries, I can update it, although I'm not sure why we would update. Well, we might update and do some analysis. It's more likely going to be for analysis. Now, some things we can do and what we can't do, kind of the restriction, okay? Okay. What it does, number one, is it stores an entire result set. It's like being in the accumulator. And the accumulator is not limited to some little small region, be it the region that's necessary to hold the result. It has local scope, and what that means, it's in the batch. Okay? It's not permanent, it's not persistent, it'll be in the batch. Okay? What can we use on it? We can actually select, we can do inserts, we can do updates, and we can even delete it within the scope before it, we terminate if we've got it. What we can't do is we can't populate it with a select into statement. So you can't do a select into a table variable, okay, and then have the query after that. Okay, when you select into, what you're doing is you're actually creating a new temporary table in the temp table. So first thing you have to do, of course, you have to declare it in this case. When you did the select to, you didn't have to. So there's a name, put it out there. And then you have to insert the rest. What I got a little processing script that uses all of these, and so I'm going to, it's a little bit bigger. Let's take a look at that one, and I'll. Now I got to get the right one. Record processing script. All right, so now I've got one here that's really big, got a whole bunch of stuff. All right, so we're going to go take a little look at this one. All right, so first step, I'm going to create a table. I'm actually going to run this so you see how it runs and it works. Okay, so first of all, anytime create our little tables on the fly now. So we're going to create a little table here, and just want to check for it. In this case, I've already got an e-pay table out there, and then here's my table. Okay, now this is a table, okay, and it doesn't have any enumerated columns there. You can see it's not going to be enumerated, but we're going to need to do row by row processing on it. So we're going to substitute create a table variable to do that row by row processing. We've done this stuff before, so we're done. Okay, and then I can do a select, that pop there. Okay. Now we're going to process the records in a batch. And what we're going to do here, I've got a new annotator, create an input table, okay, that we can enumerate. because we're gonna do some processing on this. And we're gonna do it with a table variable. Here's my table variable. See, in this case, we're gonna have a declare statement. Keyword include, gotta have the @ sign. I call it in records. And then a table. And then there's my row. I usually call it row, because what it makes sense. Okay. And then an identity column. And I'm gonna take the default. I want to start with 1, I want to increment by 1, so I think it makes sense. Okay. And then the only two things that are input that I felt was important here was the identifier and the hours. And then is that clear for everyone? Oh, can't do that. Okay, and then we're going to insert the records. Okay, we're all set. We got to insert and we got to match. Okay, so I've got to match what I have in the definition. So in this case, the only thing I have to specify is the EID and the hour. And the identity column is populated automatically for every instance. Insert. So we inserted it, okay, and then we just reflect it back. And then I'm going to do I did something here just to keep overkill. Okay. So now I'm going to have an output table just for fun, and we'll create another table variable. And I'm going to put an identity field in there because I always like to know how many records do I have out, and I got them numbered nicely. And in here I'm going to have the ID, the hours, and the pay. So I could argue that maybe that's where we're going to send that to the payroll people, and then they're going to create checks or some other magic electronic stuff to put it in your bank account. Okay. And here is another good application, is an error record table. When there's an error that occurs, okay, then I can capture these, and then before I go out in the batch, decide what I'm going to do with all that. So just for fun, I created an error record table, and this would indicate the record number that identity column where an error occurred, and the ID and the hours and some kind of a message. I got another example here. You got a little rule: you can't work more than 60 hours a week. If you did, you're not going to get paid.
All right.
Okay. Okay. So and I got an example, so I can write one out there. Okay. So this is a good example of using another good example of using a table. I'm sure you'll think of other in your own personal application. Okay. Now we're ready to do the row by row process. For all of our variables, and then now I usually in a separate declaration here, just so I can see them. Okay. The stuff that's related to the control of my loop. Okay. I'm going to use this thing called a row variable. Okay, that's the one that operates on the enumerated column, and then the row count. Okay. I gotta determine how many records do I have in. Now we start same thing you did last week, except now we're doing this with some table. First step when we're gonna work with a loop is that, we're gonna set the row for one. And then our while loop always starts with a while condition, and the condition is going to always be that control variable, and then some terminating value, which is going to be that final number of records. And then we have the begin block. So the next step is going to be select, create our input value for our first record. We're going to do it for a record at a time. First record for that row. And that's what we're going to do our selection on the enumerated column. There for the okay. So I've kind of contrived this problem for lots of stuff. The first thing we're going to check is, did they assign you with more than 60 hours? Okay, just so I can have something to write for the error. So if hours is greater than 60, write to the error table. Okay, and here I'll do an insert. Okay, value. Okay, the row, that's that record number. Okay, the ID and the hours, I'll say invalid hours. And then that's available to me to print out or push out somewhere else. Any questions on that? So we can use these to write paragraphs. Okay. If that's good, or if that's no good, then we drop out. So I've got a big if else. So it's if else. Else means the record is good. So now I'll go ahead and proceed with further. Let's see if I can see anything else. No, it's something right. All right, so if we have a good record, and then now we're going to go ahead and get the rate. And I kind of contrived this up a little bit. So since I didn't use the rate on my input table, I can go out and fetch it from the render table. So I can have a select query. You can mix the selects, these declarative statements, with your procedural statements. Really a powerful construct. So I'm gonna go get the pay for this particular EI rate.
So why do we need to enumerate if we can tell it to match something that's already there?
I don't know how to get through the record set.
Well, we're gonna tell it how many times to do it.
But I have to have a way of fetching which record. I don't have, when I'm doing with a while, what you have here I've simply got okay, I'm going to leave this blank right now. And I've got the EID here. And it was something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I had some silly numbers in there. I don't know how to retrieve that. I've got that table sitting there, but I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know what they are.
So we'd have to, that's what you're saying.
So what we do is we put a row column in there and then go, I know I'm going to have a record with a 1 there. So, okay. And then I'll get that so that I can relate that back to to its original source. So I need to have some way, in some orderly manner to do that. So it's not only gonna be something I know, it's something that's also ordinal, and, enumerated right after each other. So it's like we have a little pointer that moves down through the record set. Next week we'll look at it, it's called a cursor. Well, is there magic behind that cursor? No. They're gonna have to enumerate the table too. Okay? You just don't see it. And anytime we do stuff with large data structures, enumerate the data structure. So we artificially enumerate so we can get a hold of that record. Then we can read what is, the meaning of it. In this case, it belongs to this guy right here. So the only thing I read in was EID and hours. But now I'm getting ready to do the pay. This is just a dummy number, sir. This is the number I want. So now I can use that, okay, for your FICA's rate. Yeah, that would probably, this would probably be, make more sense because you can think of our temporary variable, our temporary table as the time sheet or something like that for everybody. The cumulative time sheet, you're not gonna have your rate on it. So you got your hours, your identifier, you just got, first guy, second, third, fourth, that's like our enumerated column. Okay. When we use the table variable, we've got to explicitly do our own enumerating. If we use a cursor, now we don't have to worry about it. But this is cheaper. Cursor. We'll talk about that next. All right, so now I'm ready to compute the pay. Okay. I'll compute it so we can take it out. And then here I'm going to insert the record into the outright table variable. Which is fine. Okay. I'm overkilling this thing. Just so you see, I can use these table variables for input. I used it for an error table, and now here I'm using it for an output table. And then I'm here at the end of the valid processing. Okay. And the first leg of the if was for invalid. Okay. And then next most important thing, you got to update that control variable. Okay. If you don't update that, it goes into an infinite loop. And then here, once I get out of that, then I'm just playing around with this. So I update the pay, set up the pay to 0, and then I go through here and I'm going to update the table, the database table from I call the data set, this record variable. Okay, just for fun. This is really contrived, but it really shows you a lot of things you can do. All right, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to get my output records, okay, and use that to update the actual storage table for whatever reason, okay. All right, so I'm going to do this row count again. Now the row count is on my output record, but don't forget one of those guys that thought he was going to get paid for 60 hours. He's not going to pay. Okay? His record's not going to get updated. He's got 0 pay. Try it next year. Okay. Or resolve the error with an error. All right. So set row to row 1. We know it's going to be a row 1 in there because we set up an enumerated column. Okay. And then, you know, while it's resting the row cow, and we'll go and select from our output table record, our output table variable, and then use that to update the actual stored table underneath. And then go through the loop on that. There we go. And then I select out all of these things. Yeah, they're in there. And then go into the batch. So all of these go away. Right after these go. Go over some stuff more. I'll run it. You can see these batches running every night. The whole 9 yards. Already run it up this year. You can see I've already run it once. So we'll run it again, so you won't get that old one over.
Your new tricks.
Yeah, do that. All over you now. So careful on that. But I'll do that. I'll just do this here. Just enough to see some of this stuff change. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and execute that group. And let's see. Okay, so the first one's the e-pay table right there. Okay, has no pay in it. And then the let's see. Select from e-pay. Let's see. Then we have input records. I must have done that earlier, or I must have printed that earlier. You can see the guy that didn't get the pay. Okay. I mean, this is going to be the index right down here. So somewhere else I've got something else. So let's move this up. Okay, there's my input record. There's my row. And it's the enumerated column. Okay, so I'm going to do that now. Okay. And then here's my output. Okay, that's what you'd expect. Minus, number 555. And then here's the error. Okay. I had that one error table. Maybe 70 hours. No way. Question, everybody's awful quiet. Huh? Oh, you were out. Oh, I thought talk over here. Okay.
Are you gonna post that one?
I will do that, yes ma'am. I'm gonna go shortchange you.
I like to see examples when I'm trying to work through.
Absolutely. Right, especially something like this. Good. This one's hard, this is hard to get used to if you haven't been used to programming. And even if you have, it says, the language is arcane relative to a good programming language. Really arcane. Okay. But it does a good job for being a database language. It's still, I think, the best one. Of course, you just can't choose this when you have to choose, SQL Server. Okay. So if you're on something else, then you got to learn their arcane language. Which will be different, but I don't think it's powerful. Okay, so now let's look at a homework, and then I'll show you. I'm going to post all that stuff, and then we'll have our course evaluation, and then I have to get out of the room during that course evaluation, and after that, if you and then we talk about your problem, see what where error maybe you aren't not as wrong as you think you are. All right, so let's look at the homework problem. Okay, so we're going to get some more practice at PL, SQL scripts, case expressions, and table diagrams. So here, to create a salesman table to hold the values for. Why don't I put all this stuff out so you can read that? It's kind of hard to do all this. Let's see. Okay, so desktop. Okay, let the desktop. Okay, what I need to do is go in here. Grab last week's solution. Okay, and then I'm going to go back and find everything that the tough adjustment. Paste. Okay, handout. All right, there's the case discussion. Here's the derived table discussion. Also in there is all of the other discussions on all the other derived tables. There's the solution. Here's the problem. And then here's the record processing script that I just went through here. Yeah. Now, copy. Right before your eyes. Okay, instruction. Hey. There it is. It's out there now. Okay. And then now let's go through this. I want you to create a salesman table to hold values for salesman ID. Okay, and those are kind of squirreled up. Okay, so they won't be, they're not enumerated. Name, years of service, base pay, annual sales, annual bonus, a commission, and a total annual pay. All of those are going to be columns in a regular database table. Okay. Regular storage table. And you're going to populate that with the beginning information. Okay. You got an ID. You got a name. You got year. You got base sales. And you also have to have columns for the actual base pay. That's the base pay right there. You got years of service. Your annual bonus. You'll have a column for that. Your commission. You'll have a column for that. And then you have a column for total annual pay. You don't put an enumerated column in the stored database. You're going to do the same kind of processing that you described in the script tonight. And we're going to write a TLSQL script to compute the annual bonus, the commission, and the total annual pay. So that's those other three columns here that don't show up. Okay. And then you're going to update the records in display. And I've got schedules here for the service bonus. Okay. Anytime you see a table like this, these are candidates for case statements. Boy, they just work perfect. Okay. And this would have to be a range selecting case statement. Okay. It's not going to be the simple one, it's going to be the search. And then you got something that computes sales, that'll be the same thing. It'll be based on, you get a higher percentage with the more you sell. So that's gonna be a case statement. And then the annual pay is a simple, straightforward calculation. What you do is you write a program that uses case construct and a while repetition rate to perform procedural row by row processing to see the annual pay, which is of course that would be like tuition and the actual bonus. And it would be a script very much like that. You know, like this is the, your input table, table variable, with enumerated columns without so this one's gonna be a little more substantial than this did last week, but that's good.
So, just to be clear, when you say 100 plus, that means greater than 100.
Yeah,
So that's 101 to 500.
yeah, you can say that.
Or 100.1 or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you keep it in round numbers, because we're talking big sales. Yeah, I'm not gonna nitpick on that, you can make your own, I mean, you know, 101, that's what it comes.
It's just that we can't have 100 for both levels.
No, you wouldn't, because that wouldn't make sense, you can't. Well, you.
It would be a logic error.
Actually, you
Well, in
can.
the case,
because-
it wouldn't work. that
Yeah,
way.
pardon?
In the case, it's based on the first.
Well, no, you gotta be careful of it. That's a simple case. Okay, on the search one here, you can do that. It'll be the one of those is gonna be inclusive. Okay, so that would be a greater than 100,000. So this is K dollars.
Doesn't say that.
2,000. This is 100,000. That's why. So if you have zero, 100,000 inclusive, so that means between here and this would be less than equal. This one here would be greater. There we go. So, well, what is this here? This is my sales. I'll just use S for sales. So I can say when S is greater than, equal to 0, and this is the one we want, S is less than, equal to 100, good, 100,000. Okay. Pardon?
Yes, yes.
No, what?
2 ampersands. That's more C language.
And? Is that SQL? I'm blitz for the day.
On that, would
Okay,
it,
I'll put it in there, let's see if it works.
No, you know it won't work. They're gonna give you a blank look.
on that, instead, sorry, go ahead.
Does it be like, no?
On that, could he use a between?
Yeah, you can do that too, absolutely. Yeah. So on this course evaluation, don't say he's losing it. Okay. You try it, okay? So, you know,
I've been emailed, it doesn't work.
and I'll tell you what, is that none of the other instructors, you know, will teach more than one language. Really, they don't. They don't. home grad, so I'm the only one that's crazy enough that that part might be. Then it'd be S greater than 100. So that's how you go with that. And then and. Okay, so this the right end down here is got the S less than equal to 500. All right, so that's the way you'd interpret that table. That way you get it inclusive. So if you want to nitpick on the dollar, so if it's a penny more, you're in the next bracket. Okay. Penny less, too bad. Life is tough.
The IRS.
Huh? That's the way they work. Okay. Good. All right, that part clear. Any other questions on that? Yeah, this is a fun problem.
Hmm.
See how we do
You hide it well.
that. Okay.